I never imagined that a small, second-hand microscope would become my most treasured possession, or that it would be the only thing in my family that made me feel seen. But I also never imagined that my mother would scream in my face over something as small as damaging my sister's hair bow. "You were a mistake from the start," she spat, her voice icy. I was only 10 years old, and Lily, my younger sister, had just drawn all over the living room wall in permanent marker. Yet I was the one punished. "Hi, I'm Emma Hayes. I grew up in a small town in Colorado. My parents were office clerks, modestly middle class, and outwardly friendly to everyone. To the neighbors, we were the picture-perfect family. But behind closed doors, the truth was much darker. From the beginning, I was the forgotten child. Lily was the center of our world. 2 years younger than me with blonde curls and a smile that could melt any adult. Her birthdays were extravaganzas, complete with clowns, balloons, and catered treats. Mine? A half-melted grocery store cake, 3 candles, and barely a glance. I excelled in school, top of my class, science fair wins, glowing teacher reviews. But my parents never praised me. My dad would mutter, "She just likes burying her head in books. Who cares about science?" My mom would sigh, "You should try being more like Lily." What they didn't understand was that science was my sanctuary. I didn't crave awards. I craved understanding. In a world that ignored me, chemistry made sense. Reactions followed rules, unlike people. Lily, on the other hand, hated school and studying. But she knew how to charm her way through life. Every time she cried, I was blamed. Her homework? I did it. Her science project? Mine too. One day I said, "I have my own assignments." My mother snapped, "You're just jealous. She's loved." My one source of light was Grandpa Frank. He listened. He cared. When he gave me that old microscope from a flea market, I held it like it was gold. "You're going to see things your mother never will," he said. When I was 13, my science teacher nominated me for the state's gifted STEM program. I was thrilled. But at dinner, when I shared the news, my father groaned, "More nonsense." My mother compared it to Lily being selected for a school magazine model shoot. "No," she said. "You're helping Lily this week. End of discussion." That night I didn't cry. I just felt empty. But the next morning, my grandmother, Grandma Margaret, saw my application. Without hesitation, she took me to school and submitted it herself. 3 weeks later, I got the results. Not only was I accepted, I ranked first in the region. I was invited to a summer workshop hosted by Stanford professors. In Grandma's backyard, under the sun, she smiled. "You're the pride of this family, Emma. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." That summer changed everything. I found other kids like me, the so-called weird ones, the ones who loved molecules and math problems. I felt like I belonged. By the end of 9th grade, I earned a full scholarship to a top STEM high school out of state. My mother was livid. "Ungrateful," she called me. "We raised you, and you're abandoning us." But Grandma signed the papers, helped me pack, and hugged me at the airport. "Don't look back," she whispered. Years later, I was in a university lab in Boston when I overheard my mom on a call. With the way things are going, he might not have much time left. My heart dropped. "Grandpa Frank?" I asked to come home. "No need," my mother said. "Lily's taking care of them." But something felt wrong. 2 weeks later, I returned unannounced. Lily opened Grandma and Grandpa's door and blocked me. "No one's home," she said. I didn't believe her. I called Grandma. Her phone was off. Finally, I confronted my parents. They told me Grandpa and Grandma were moved to a nursing home. "They didn't want to see you," my mom lied. "You've changed." 4 days later, my mom called. Frank passed away. I asked about the funeral. Saturday, 1 cow. But when I arrived, it had already happened at 9 a.m. The custodian looked at me with pity. My mother told me, "Oh, you remembered wrong." I hadn't. I was never meant to say goodbye. They made sure of it. I went to Grandma's house heartbroken. She opened the door, anger in her eyes. "You didn't answer his calls?" she accused. "I never got any," I said, showing her the note with a fake number. Lily and my mom had given him a number that wasn't mine. Grandma looked at the handwriting, stunned. "Oh my God!" She called everyone to her house, my parents, Lily, the family lawyer. The truth was about to come out. The lawyer opened the will. Grandpa Frank had changed it 3 months before he died. The room went silent. Mr. David Hayes leaves the house, the savings, and all personal belongings to his granddaughter, Emma Hayes. To Lily, Tom, and Deborah, he leaves this note. To those who silenced the voice of the brightest light in this family, you taught her nothing, but she taught me everything about love, courage, and truth. You didn't just lose an inheritance, you lost the only soul who made this family worth something. Silence. Shock. My mother looked pale. Lily dropped her phone. My father stood, speechless. Grandma turned to me. Your grandfather knew. He always knew. And just like that, the girl who was once forgotten had finally been seen. She was the invisible daughter until her grandfather left her everything. I never imagined that a dusty old microscope from a thrift store would be the one thing in my childhood that made me feel like I mattered. But I also never imagined I'd hear my mother scream in my face, "You were a mistake from the start," simply because I ruined my sister's hair bow while cleaning the dinner table. My name is Emma Hayes, and this is the story of how I was treated like a ghost in my own family, until one man's unconditional love changed everything. From the outside, we looked like a picture-perfect family in a quiet Colorado town. My parents were modest office clerks. Our house was always neat. My mom smiled sweetly at the neighbors. My dad nodded politely at church. But behind our front door was a world built on favoritism. And that favor? It never belonged to me. It belonged to my younger sister, Lily. She was the golden child, literally. Blonde curls, charming smile, the kind of girl adults adored instantly. Every birthday, she had 3-tiered cakes, clowns, even an ice cream truck. My birthdays? Last-minute store cake, crooked candles, and parents who barely looked up while muttering, "Happy birthday." But while Lily was admired for how she looked, I was ignored for how I thought. From the moment I discovered science, I was in love with molecules, experiments, anything that sparked a reaction. Lily thought it was weird. My parents thought it was a phase. But to me, science was where I was finally allowed to be curious, expressive, alive. Even as I racked up top grades and won school science fairs, my achievements were met with shrugs. "She just buries her head in that chemical nonsense," my dad would say. My mom called me different, the way someone talks about a broken clock. But one person saw me. Grandpa Frank. He was the only one who listened when I talked about science. When I was 12, he gifted me a rusty old microscope from a flea market. "You're going to see things your mother never will," he told me. He was right. I saw the truth, the silence, the rejection, the rules written in our house. Lily first, Emma last. Everything changed the spring I turned 13. My teacher nominated me for the state's gifted STEM program. I'd never felt so proud. At dinner, I finally spoke up. "I was chosen for the gifted science program. I just need a signature for the application." My dad sighed. "More nonsense." My mom shook her head. "Your sister just got picked for the school magazine photo shoot. Maybe you should think about something more presentable." I stared at my plate. "No," she said finally. "You need to help Lily with her homework this week. That's more important." I wanted to scream. Instead, I just got up and walked away. The next morning, my grandma, Grandpa Frank's wife Margaret, called me downstairs. In her hands was the form I had left behind. "You're not letting this go," she said, her voice firm. "You deserve this." She marched into school with me that day and personally submitted my application. 3 weeks later, I got the letter. I passed the entrance exam, ranked first in the region. Even got invited to a summer program with professors from Stanford. When I showed Grandma, she took my hand and smiled. If your grandpa were here, he'd be jumping for joy. That summer changed my life. By the end of 9th grade, I earned a scholarship to a STEM high school out of state. My parents were furious. My mom called me ungrateful. But Grandma, she packed my bags, drove me to the airport, and whispered, "Don't look back." Years passed. I worked hard, earned scholarships, and landed an internship in Boston. I was finally free, until I overheard something during a FaceTime call. My mother in a hushed voice. "With the way things are going, he might not have much time left." She meant Grandpa. I asked to visit. She brushed it off. "He's fine. Don't worry. Lily's taking care of them." But something didn't feel right. So, 2 weeks later, I flew home without telling anyone. When I showed up at my grandparents' house, Lily opened the door and told me no one was home. She tried to slam the door in my face. I knew something was wrong. At my parents' house, I was told the truth, or their version of it. "We moved them to a care home. It wasn't worth telling you. You're too busy with your fancy internship." Days later, I got the call. Frank passed away. And the funeral? They gave me the wrong time. I arrived to an empty church. The custodian told me they held it this morning, at 9. My mom lied, on purpose, so I wouldn't get to say goodbye. I drove to my grandparents' house again. Grandma opened the door, stiff and angry. "You dare show up here?" she asked. I handed her a note, a fake number Lily had given Grandpa, thinking it was mine. "He thought I ignored his calls," I said, "but I never got them." Her face crumbled. "Come in," she whispered. Then she made a call, to my parents, to Lily, and to Grandpa's lawyer. She said, "There are things we need to settle." An hour later, everyone sat in the living room. The lawyer, Mr. Raymond, opened the will. "To my wife, Margaret, the house and all personal savings." Grandma nodded. "To my granddaughter, Emma, the fully operational research laboratory at 54A Riverbend Street with all permits and equipment granted." Lily gasped. "A lab?" She wasn't done yelling when Mr. Raymond continued. "The remainder of the estate, shares, accounts, and properties, to be divided equally between Emma and Lily Hayes." My mother tried to argue. Grandma silenced her with one sentence. David left one more letter. "To Emma," she read, her voice breaking, "my little scientist. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. But know this. I called. I left messages. I waited. They built walls between us, but I never stopped. Believing in you. That lab, it's yours. So you never again have to ask permission to be who you are." Tears streamed down my face. Lily screamed. "She doesn't deserve it. I was told if I took care of you two, I'd get everything." Grandma replied, "That was David's last kindness, and you're spitting on it." My parents were silent. I finally spoke. "You raised me to be ashamed of who I was. And now that the truth is out, you want me to hand it over? No." Grandma stood, holding the final letter from Grandpa. "To Margaret. Do what's right, not for blood, but for Emma, because she deserves it." Then she turned to the lawyer. "Draft an addendum. None of them are welcome here again. If they contest, this letter goes to court." 6 years later, the Frank Hayes Research Center is thriving. We've published multiple scientific papers, partnered with global organizations, and I wake up every day doing what I love. In the lobby, a framed photo shows me at 7, holding a magnifying glass with Grandpa beside me. On the back, in his handwriting, My little scientist will change the world. And I will, not for them, but for me and for him.